Holy crap. All right, welcome back to Live What You Love, guys. We got an awesome one for you today. So Ballista has outdone itself. So you guys have seen me talk about the mini bat reverse. You've seen me talk about the mega bat reverse. Now, the hybrid baby, the Hawkwing, is what we're talking about today. We're gonna talk about a lot of intricate details. We're gonna talk about power. We're gonna talk about feet per second. We're gonna talk about cables, strings, adjustability, all these things, dampening, all these new features. We're gonna jump into it. And now from first appearances, you'll see these two are pretty similar in size. They're just a little bit different. The limb length is a little bit different and the ATA is a little bit different. This one obviously is much larger, and these limbs are 350 pounds, these limbs are 200 pounds, these limbs are 150 pounds. They all have the internal pulley system, which reduces, when you pull on this cord at the back, it reduces the amount of force by a third because there's 3 cords in the pulley. So what is the main difference between the mini bat and the Hawkwing? Because you can, just from looking at it dead on, you can tell a huge difference between the mega bat and the mini bat and the Hawkwing. But these two look pretty similar. And until you look a little closer, I'm gonna come grab you so I can show you some features on here. Okay, so this is a top view of the mini bat. You can see it looks very kind of simplistic almost, but it gets the job done and it still will fling a bolt out there like hell. Now this is the Hawkwing. You see how it's just a little bit larger and the limbs are just a little bit longer. And these are 200-pound limbs. These are 150-pound limbs. And then again on the mega bat, those are 350-pound limbs. Now they all have these pull cords at the back, which is how you load them. So pull cord here, and on the mega bat, obviously the same thing. Now the biggest selling point for the Hawkwing is that it has an adjustability to it. So if you look, everything that's gold on here is very important and new. So you see this Allen tool right here, and then you see these almost bullet looking where the Allen fits in. Now if you look, if I put this Allen in that hole that we're talking about, I've already rotated this clockwise as much as it will go. So this rectangle, this silver rectangle right here, has already moved all the way to the right. But now watch, if I move to the left, it's gonna be hard to balance. But if I move to the left, you'll be able to see the gray move out just a bit. I'm doing it right now. You see how it's moving out? It's very minor, but it is moving out. So that one compared to that one, you can see how that one's snugged right up in there. And just from a few counterclockwise rotations. So I need to snug that back in. Let me do that real quick. It's just clockwise rotations. It takes almost no force at all, but I want mine tightened all the way down on both sides so that I get maximum speed. And it's easier to know if it's all the way down on this side and all the way down on that side, that your cables are pulling evenly. Because think about it, all this is doing, just like any bow or crossbow, you have your string and you have your cables. And those are opposing forces for the rotation of your cams on here. So your string wants to pull this way and rotate the cam like this. Now the cables apply constant tension to the cam like this through this cable, right? So you can see this cable running here, and then it goes right down here and attaches to this. So when I use this Allen key and I put it inside the golden bullet, we're gonna call it, and I tighten this all the way down and move this silver box all the way down towards me until I can no longer, that has effectively shortened the length of my cables. It hasn't actually shortened it, but it has applied more tension to the bend of your limb. So if I unscrewed this all the way, and this silver, you can see this threaded part doesn't actually go, the threaded part stops here. So it's not like I can unwind this all the way and have it fall off or anything like that. I would only unwind it probably to there, just because I wouldn't want to screw anything up or have this just damage anything. I would say only unwind it to that point. It's supposed to have an adjustability of about 30 to 40 pounds, depending on where this silver block is as you move it. Just make sure that if you move it on this side, move it on that side a little bit at a time. So you don't want to move the entire thing on one side and then move the entire thing on the other side. You want to do a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. You get me? As you can see, if I were to loosen this counterclockwise and have this silver piece move up to here, what that is effectively doing is loosening this cable because it's giving it way more slack. So if I were to do that, you'd see this, it's kind of like putting a preload on the limb. So right now I have huge preload on the limb, but if I were to move that silver piece all the way up, the preload would kind of straighten out a little bit. There wouldn't be nearly as much preload. That's what I'm getting at. And that's what is kind of amazing about this. Also, what this tool, it's just a little simple hex key. So that Allen also allows you, say I loosen, I'll have enough slack in my cables and in my strings that I can replace my cables and strings without using a bow press, which is a huge plus. And I love stuff like that, because then if you're out in the field or anything goes wrong, you got extra strings and cables with you, you got no worries. If you need to maybe put an extra twist in the cable to make it fire a little straighter, you think something's off, sorry. But that is by far the biggest selling point. For me at least. And now if you look here, I just have a simple red dot on. It's the same red dot that I run on the mini bat. So the mini bat shoots pretty fast. The Hawkwing shoots, here this is a great comparison. So mini bat, Hawkwing, you can really see the difference. I know perspective is doing it a favor, but it does look quite a bit bigger here. Let me show you another thing that they added in. So you see on the outside here, you see this gold cylinder that looks almost like a golden dumbbell? So on the outside, they have these black cylinders. It's like a black rubber dumbbell. And those are dampeners. So when you shoot this thing, it's gonna dampen the vibration. So instead of going wah, 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 it might just go wah, 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 and it'll dampen out and quiet. So it'll feel way more dead in hand. So they have them on both sides, obviously. One other thing that they didn't really take the time to point out, but I want to point it out to y'all. I just noticed it. So the foot stirrup on this one, this is the mini bat. It's just straight up has a hole. But the only reason that this one stands up like this is because I have that particular handle on there. If I weren't to have that handle, it would only lie on its side, and I don't like that. I like them to stand straight up. Now this one, it supports itself right there, and then you bend the handle, the front handle back just a little bit, and then the front stirrup has two pieces or two places where it's going to rest, so it can rest and it won't fall on either side. I'm always real, especially right before a hunt, I don't want anything to fall side to side because it might hit my sight and maybe screw something up. I'm just kind of paranoid about that kind of thing. Now another difference between the Hawkwing and the mini bat is you can see these bolts right here. These are 0.166 diameter, same diameter that comes out of here. These shoot, except for instead of 13-inch sting bolts, you're shooting 16-inch sting bolts. And if you can see, these are stainless steel inserts right here, and then 100 grain field points. One other difference is that the bolts come with 3 fletchings, which is great. Now, when you fire this thing, make sure that this back piece is not like this. You want it like that, because that's the way your string is going to contact it. If it's like this, it might effectively dry fire because your string won't want to, it'll push it forward, but it'll go over or under it. You want it like this, and then that's your down vein. So be careful about that. Speaking of dry firing, or effectively dry firing. Okay, so with the mini bat, one of the big things that everybody loved was, oh, you can, so it's cocked right there, cocked. If I push this in, the safety is off, and then if I pull the pull cord and fire, and then let down, it unloads. So that's exceptionally handy and a really cool feature about the mini bat. But you got a bunch of dingalings who don't do that process right. So a lot of people were dry firing their mini bat or mega bat or whatever, and these are expensive. For instance, this one's about $1,000. This one's $799. This one's about $500 or $600, I think. But $799 for this one and the adjustability and everything. It's actually a really good deal. Just a little plug right here, if you do want to look at them. All of these are for sale at ballista.co. You can use my code. I think my code is Casey, C-A-S-E-Y. That's just my first name. If that's not the promo code, I'll put the correct one down at the bottom here. But I'll have the link I'll pin it as a top comment, and I'll have it in the description of the video. Now, what I wanted to let's get back on track so I can show you what I want to show you. So you saw I could cock that and decock it very easily, right? Now, with this one's much harder to cock. So I can't put it against my body. Now remember, that's 150-pound limbs divided by 3 is your pull force, or the amount of force needed to pull that pull cord back because of the internal pulley system. So that's only about 50 pounds needed. This one, yeah, no way. It's supposedly these are 200-pound limbs. You would think divided by 3, so 67 pounds. Pulling up like this with your non-dominant hand. That's not my bow arm. So pulling 67 pounds when it's kind of unstable, that's a little hard for me. So I'm gonna use this foot stirrup right here. And you remember we like this stirrup because it has 2, so it can kind of sit like a tripod. So if it's just sitting on your desk or wherever you house it, it's not gonna fall over and bump your sight, so you don't have to worry about that. But you probably won't be able to see me stepping on the foot stirrup because it's gonna be under the table, but just trust that that's what I'm doing. So, stepping on the foot stirrup, I have the pulley cord all the way up, okay? This thing loaded, you can see it's really cool. I love the way this looks loaded, because it makes almost like a complete circle, right? But this thing has an anti-dry fire because a lot of people were making the mistake, like I said, of they draw it all the way back, and then they wouldn't follow the correct procedure for unloading it, and then they would end up dry firing. So this one has anti-dry fire. So let me show you what happens if I try to unload it the same way as this one. So, pull all the way up. Here, push the safety in, pull all the way up. I'm pulling the trigger and it will not fire. I was pulling the trigger, which would normally, after I push the safety in, you pull the pull cord all the way back, pull the trigger, let the pull cord down, that unloads it. With the Hawkwing is different. It doesn't have that feature. So to unload it, you have to shoot, you just have to kind of shoot like a dummy bolt. Let me shoot this and get rid of it. I'll just shoot at this target. Hopefully it doesn't go straight through the target. I've only shot it one time at the house, and I have some targets that are about this thick, meant for compound bows, and my compound bows shoot all of them over 300 feet per second, and they'll stop those arrows super easily. I shot this thing and it went straight through out the back about by 5 inches, so I'm kind of weary, but these big shot targets are pretty good about stopping the small diameters. I'm just hoping I don't lose this in there. Let's see. I'm taking the cover off of the red dot and I'm just gonna turn it on. I wanna see how far off or or how on it is, and then I'll aim at it. Okay. Okay, I can definitely work with that. So a couple things. Definitely feels more dead in hand when you shoot this one as compared to this one. Let me grab that bolt real quick. Okay, that's the bolt that I fired just a second ago. You see how deep in that goes? That's a big shot target, and yeah, it's been shot a lot, but for an arrow to go that deep in one of these targets is freaking crazy. Went all that, probably 13, 14 inches in. Okay, got our bolt back. Good deal. Let's turn our laser sight off. So supposedly it has micro adjustability due to the hex key and the kind of the golden bullets of about 30 to 40 feet per second. We will be testing that later this week. Whenever I go to the bow shop, like my pro shop in town, we'll test that. Just like any other of the Ballista products, you can mount Picatinny on top and bottom, so you can run whatever you want. If you want a laser sight, if you want a green light, like one of the mini mag lights, anything like that. The fact that you're running 16-inch bolts instead of the 13-inch bolts on the mini bat, also, there's a couple things. I really like that they're 3-fletch instead of 2-fletch, which the mini bat is only 2-fletch. Of course, you can fletch it yourself, but who wants to do that with a micro diameter? Complete pain in the butt. The 3-fletch, and it's helical, so you can mount a broadhead and it's going to fly really well. I like the extra effort that they put into that. And you can see down these things, and there's a good degree of helical on there, probably 2 degrees. Another thing, 16-inch bolts instead of the 13-inch bolts will allow you to hunt in more states, because some states require a minimum of 14 inches for you to be able to hunt. And that was one of the main complaints or under the comments sections of the mini bat videos that I've done in the past. People were like, man, I really want one. I love everything about it, but I can't because the bolts that they make are a little too short for my state. So they took care of that problem. All right, so everything I've said so far is pretty cool, right? But the thing that we haven't really covered is power, kinetic energy, feet per second. So let's kind of go into that a little bit. We're going to go through the claimed, and then later this week, I'm going to go up to a pro shop and we're going to actually test it for real. The only bolts that I have to test are 16 inches. They're stainless steel inserts. These are not aluminum. The aluminum ones would be black. I think the best way to test the power initially is kind of how I have it set up right now. Tighten it all the way down, tighten it all the way down on both sides, so the cables are applying maximum preload to the limbs. Pull it back and fire a few times with these bolts. Probably fire it 3 times, get an average, and then loosen it all the way up, probably until the end of the threads like I showed you earlier. I'm not going to go any farther than that. Like, I'm not going to back it all the way out. As you're backing it out, you're losing preload on the limbs, so it's going to shoot slower. It's supposed to vary by about 20 to 40 feet per second or 30 to 40 feet per second. We're going to test that. I'm going to go through just a couple of these things. Some of the claims seem ridiculous to me right now. I'm going to read off what the expected is, and then we're going to test and get the actual later this week. I wrote down just a couple other features that I wanted to make sure that I talked about. I'm just going to run through those real quick. So we mentioned the anti-dry fire. It has a 5.9 inch axle-to-axle. It's less than 19 inches in length, even with the stock attached. Here's the part that we care about. This is the power, the speed, the feet per second, all that jazz. Speeds up to 500 feet per second with a, get this, 150 grain 14-inch stock bolts. 150 grains? You're shooting 150 grains out of this thing? Yeah, that's not practical. I will measure. So this came with a couple of sting bolts, or a few sting bolts, and it also came with some entertainment bolts. The entertainment bolts are the ones with red and yellow fletchings. Those weigh way less. Those are not to be hunting arrows. Those are just entertainment bolts. So I'm assuming that might be what they're talking about when they say 500 feet per second with 150 grain, 14-inch stock bolts, because the other bolts are quite a bit shorter. They're just a few inches shorter. It's supposed to be able to shoot 425 feet per second with a 250 grain, 16-inch hunting bolt. That might be these, but it says 250 grain with aluminum insert. So the stainless steel inserts weigh more than the aluminum inserts. So the speed of 425 is too high. It's gonna be less than that with these. You're supposed to be able to get 340 feet per second with the 16-inch sting bolts with stainless steel inserts. So 340 is the magic number that we're looking for. So it's the next day. I found my chronograph. I thought I had lost it, but I found it. We're gonna shoot some of these bolts. We've got two different ones. We've got the ones I was telling you about yesterday where they're kind of entertainment bolts, where they're red and yellow. These are much shorter. These are only 14 inches. We're gonna get a weight on those in just a sec. And then we've got our 16-inch sting bolts with stainless steel inserts. So let's get our grain scale out real quick. The hex key tool, that's pretty much all you need to check with stuff. I'm hoping that the sun is good enough right now, like the lighting, so that it'll read. Normally you need ideally it would be high noon when you do this to get the best reading, but we're going to try to still get a reading. First thing, so I have this tightened all the way down. I'm going to turn the red dot on just so I can see and aim. It doesn't really matter what I'm aiming at right now, we're just checking speeds. Checking speed, power, kinetic energy. These are 358 grains, so about 360. And check some of the other ones. Just see if we get the same answer. 360. Okay, so the 16-inch sting bolts with stainless steel are 360. The entertainment bolts, wow, are 148. 148, 149.9, and 148. So these are the 14-inch bolts that, whenever it said 150 grains, 14-inch bolts, that were shot at, I think, a speed over 500 or something crazy like that. That's with those bolts. We are going to be testing that. So we know the weights now. Let's load this thing. Okay. I do have it turned all the way up. Let's start with the lightest one. Put the odd fletch down. Okay, safety off. Holy crap. 531. Holy crap. You see this? Look at that right there. Make sure you can see this. 531 with 150 grain, with 150 grain bolt. That's exceeded expectations, okay? Now these are the stainless steel ones, so I think we're supposed to get a speed of about 340. And the weight on these, I believe, was 360. I'm gonna double check that real quick. Yeah, 360. 3, 2, 1. That's still exceeded expectations. 347. Let's see, man. Look at that. Crazy. Let me do a quick calculation. Get kinetic energy. Let me go over to calculator. I'll say it out loud if any of you guys want to do it. So do the speed first, so 535, and then times 535 because the velocity is squared, equals whatever, and then multiply that by the grain weight, which is 150, equals whatever, times 0.5, equals whatever, and then divide by 166,508. That's the conversion factor. Gets you 128.9 joules. So we're gonna say 129 joules. That's absurd. Let's do the other one. So we've got 347 feet per second. So on the second bolt, the one that weighed more, 347 was the feet per second, times itself, 347, times the grain weight, which was 360, equals that, times 0.5, and then divide by 166,508. Again, conversion factor. You get 130.16. Wow. So the energy is almost identical. That's really cool to see. So 130 joules. Holy cow, man. That unreal. Okay, so we tested the heavier bolt, we tested the lighter bolt. We don't have the intermediate weight, which would just be the aluminum inserts instead of the stainless steel, but we got the light and the heavy, and the numbers through this chronograph actually read higher than what the company claimed, which is always a great thing. The fact that you have something that compact, that lightweight, that can generate that amount of energy, the total joules for both, we got 129 joules for the 150 grain and 130 joules for the stainless steel. So I was expecting stainless steel to stay on the string longer so it would absorb more energy. So I was expecting that joule, that kinetic energy, to be higher, but it's literally just because of how fast it fires. I think even though the bolt weighed 360 instead of 150, it's not even slowing down. It's still just launching it. I mean, might slow down a little bit, but there's no stopping this thing. I think Ballista did a really great job with this. I think anybody who purchases this thing is going to be happy with their purchase. It can take, I guarantee you, it can take down deer, hogs, whatever you want. You could probably go hunting elk with this thing, like legitimately. And I still think you would get a pass through with that amount of energy. Like I said yesterday, if you're interested in this product, you can go to ballista.co/Casey. I'll put it at the bottom of the page here. My promo code when you check out is Casey. It's C-A-S-E-Y. That's just my first name. Really appreciate you guys watching the video. I hope you guys decide to pick one up on your own. Always remember, live what you love.